Power in the Transformers world runs wild because a tiny scout can barely lift a rifle while a cosmic god swallows planets whole. Today's deep dive moves through 7 tiers of Transformer power drawn from the original 1984 cartoon, the Michael Bay films, the Prime animated series, the IDW comics, and the 2024 Transformers 1 movie. Each tier reaches for what the one below could not, and each tier breaks against a wall the next was built to climb. The path begins on Cybertron, with the bots whose bodies were never built for war. Wheelie first appeared in the 1986 animated film The Transformers the Movie as a young Autobot stranded on Quintessa, where his habit of speaking only in rhymes set him apart from every other Autobot. The Michael Bay films brought him back in Revenge of the Fallen as a tiny toy truck working as a Decepticon spy who switched sides after losing one eye to the human Michaela Baines. From that moment, he served the Autobot cause through stealth, slipping into rooms heavy Autobots could not enter, and watching what soldiers could not watch. Squeaks debuted in Transformers, the last night as a tiny Citroën 2CV, a small French car belonging to the orphan Isabella, and his entire purpose centered on the bond he shared with his human partner. He carried no weapons capable of harming even the weakest Decepticon, yet he gave Isabella the kind of company no commander or warrior had time to provide for the human survivors of Transformer conflict. The moment a real Decepticon entered his sector, he had no answer beyond the protection of bigger Autobots standing between him and the enemy. Brains entered the franchise in Dark of the Moon as a small Decepticon spy trapped inside a laptop body, hidden in Sam Witwicky's apartment alongside Wheelie, and he defected to the Autobots after the Battle of Chicago. He hacked Decepticon systems and pulled secrets out of enemy networks no warrior could decrypt, reading layers of planning that escaped commanders when those plans hid behind firewalls rather than armor. Every secret he uncovered still required a warrior somewhere to act on it, and his body could not survive a single direct shot from the enemies whose plans he stole. The scrap tier mattered in ways no commander could replace, because the small bots watched and listened and held the human side of the story together when the giants forgot to look down. None of them could survive contact with a real enemy. The wounds these scouts witnessed had to be closed by someone, and the secrets they uncovered had to be turned into weapons by hands that knew how to build them. Ratchet served as the chief medical officer of the Autobots across almost every version of the franchise, established in the 1984 cartoon as Optimus Prime's closest technical ally and battlefield surgeon whose hands could repair damage that would have ended any other Autobot for good. Every soldier who returned to the line after taking a hit owed his survival to Ratchet's expertise. The Michael Bay films cast him as a Hummer ambulance in the 2007 movie, armed with surgical lasers that doubled as weapons. His tier broke in Age of Extinction when the bounty hunter Lockdown tracked him down on behalf of Cemetery Wind, the human task force built to hunt Autobots for their technology. Ratchet fought back. Lockdown killed him anyway. Skill at closing wounds offered no defense against a foe whose entire purpose was to open them. Perceptor joined the 1984 cartoon as the Autobot scientist who turned into a microscope, a tool for studying very small things and whose scope doubled as a rifle in robot mode. Where brains read code from inside hidden frames, Perceptor read enemy technology from a workbench at the heart of Autobot operations, dismantling captured Decepticon weapons and reverse engineering systems no scout could recover. The new gear that Autobots carried into battle traced back to his analysis, and the gaps in Decepticon technology that opened up under his lens became the openings warriors exploited in the field. Every weapon he built required a warrior to wield it, and any direct engagement with a serious enemy would have erased him in seconds. Wheeljack held the title of Lead Autobot Engineer in most versions of the story, established in the 1984 cartoon as the bot who designed and built the Dinobots themselves. The bots he created would later stand among the most powerful warriors on either side of the conflict, which meant his contributions scaled forward through the bodies of his creations rather than through anything he did personally. The Michael Bay films brought back a different Wheeljack in Dark of the Moon under the name Quay. Decepticon forces killed him in cold blood after the Chicago battle ended. The engineer who created warriors could not hold the line when those warriors were not standing between him and the enemy. The support tier kept the Autobot cause functional in ways the scrap tier could never approach, because every wound Ratchet closed and every weapon Perceptor built and every Dinobot Wheeljack created flowed into the war effort through warriors who carried that work into combat. Without any one of them, some part of the Autobot war machine would have ground to a halt. Building a weapon and training a healer still leaves you dependent on someone else to swing the sword. Bumblebee stands as the most recognizable Autobot scout across the entire franchise. Introduced in the 1984 cartoon as a yellow Volkswagen Beetle paired with the boy Spike Witwicky, and grown into a defining figure of the Michael Bay films when his Chevy Camaro form anchored the 2007 movie. He carried the gear that engineers like Wheeljack built and used it to do what no engineer could, ending the Decepticon ravage in Revenge of the Fallen by ripping out his spine and temporarily killing Megatron in The Last Night after his long-dormant vocal processors finally came back online. The The 2018 Bumblebee film established his origin as an evacuation soldier fleeing the fall of Cybertron, placing him firmly in the soldier class with training tuned for direct combat against the standard Decepticon ranks. His skill let him eliminate most common Decepticons in fair combat, and his presence in nearly every major Autobot operation made him one of the most active warriors of the entire franchise. Every time a commander entered the field and decided to engage him personally, the gap between a trained soldier and a true elite showed up with a speed that no amount of experience could close. Jazz operated as Optimus Prime's first lieutenant for special operations across both the 1984 cartoon and the Michael Bay films, cast in the cartoon as a Porsche sports car, whose speed made him one of the most respected warriors in the Autobot ranks. The 2007 Michael Bay film placed him in direct combat against Megatron during the Battle of Mission City, where he chose the engagement himself in a decision no scout would have considered, attempting to hold the Decepticon leader off while the rest of the Autobot forces regrouped. What happened next took seconds. Megatron grabbed him by the midsection, delivered the line, "You want a piece of me? No, I want two pieces," and ripped Jazz in half in what became the first major Autobot casualty of the entire Bayverse film series. RC appeared across the 1984 cartoon, the Transformers Prime series, and the Michael Bay films in distinctly different forms, debuting in the 1986 animated film as a pink warrior who stood among the earliest female Transformers shown in the franchise. Transformers Prime reimagined her as a blue motorcycle whose brutal combat record paired her with the human boy Jack Darby, and the loss of her previous partner Cliffjumper in the opening episodes gave her a personal drive no support bot ever carried into the field. Personal kills accumulated across her career to a degree that few soldier-tier bots could match, and across continuities she carried a grief that sharpened every engagement. Focus and motivation still could not stop a Decepticon advance when a heavy hitter rolled through her sector. The standard soldier tier won the war one engagement at a time, and every street the Autobots held traced back to soldiers like Bumblebee, Jazz, and RC. Anything above them on the ladder could break through with deliberate intent, and the war demanded warriors whose specialization and combat supremacy could turn individual battles by force of personal skill alone. Starscream commanded the Decepticon aerial forces as Megatron's second-in-command across nearly every continuity, established in both the 1984 cartoon and the Michael Bay films as a fighter jet whose Seeker-class armor, the flying jet type most Decepticon pilots used, and whose null-ray weapons, capable of freezing machines solid, gave him range no common Autobot could match. Standard soldiers could not touch him in the sky, where the rules of the lower tiers stopped applying. The 1984 cartoon characterized him as perpetually scheming to overthrow Megatron, a plotline that reached its climax in the Transformers the movie when he jettisoned the wounded Decepticon leader into space and crowned himself Emperor of the Decepticons. He held that crown for the length of a single scene. Galvatron, a resurrected Megatron reformatted by the god Unicron, killed him with a single shot during the coronation. Ironhide served as the Autobot weapons specialist under Optimus Prime, established as a red truck whose armor and firepower defined the heavy end of frontline Autobot combat across decades. He carried twin cannons that punched through Decepticon hulls at long range, and the cartoon treated him as one of the oldest Autobots, a veteran of countless battles whose firepower outclassed any standard soldier on the field. Dark of the Moon ended his story when Sentinel Prime, the legendary former Autobot leader revealed as a long-term traitor working with Megatron, shot him in the back at point-blank range with a cosmic rust cannon. The shot came from a friend. The friend was a Prime. Heavy weapons mean nothing when the bot pulling the trigger sits 2 tiers above you on the ladder of power. Sideswipe entered the Michael Bay films in Revenge of the Fallen as a Chevrolet Corvette Stingray concept whose blades fused directly to his feet like skates, giving him a fight pattern unique among Autobots in the entire film series. He bisected the Decepticons sideways during the Shanghai mission that opens the 2009 movie, cleaving the enemy clean in half with his arm blades during pursuit in a kill no soldier in the franchise could have executed at that speed. The 1984 cartoon originally introduced Sideswipe as a Lamborghini and twin brother to Sunstreaker, both functioning as frontline warriors whose elite status came from speed and blade work rather than raw firepower. Every kill he made happened inside tactical plans someone above him had drawn. The elite tier turned battle soldiers could not turn alone. Starscream owned the sky, and Ironhide bent armor with his cannons, while Sideswipe cut through Decepticon ranks at impossible speed on the ground. Their kills opened paths the rest of the army could push through, and their personal supremacy made them warriors, whose names carried across continuities for decades. None of them could shape a war by themselves, because they all served leaders who decided which campaigns their skills would actually decide. Megatron rose from the gladiatorial pits of Kaon, the harsh arena city on Cybertron, to become the leader of the Decepticon uprising whose authority shaped centuries of war. The IDW comics and the War for Cybertron video game established his origin as a low-caste worker named D16, who killed in the arena and rallied other outcasts to his cause. And the 2024 animated film Transformers 1 depicted the friendship between Orion Pax and D16 before they split into Optimus Prime and Megatron. His original goal of reforming the cruel Cybertronian caste system mutated across centuries of war into total conquest, a depth of motivation no elite warrior beneath him ever carried into battle. The 1984 cartoon made him a Walter P-38 pistol in robot mode, with a fusion cannon that could vaporize a standard Autobot in a single blast, and the Michael Bay films reshaped him into a Cybertronian jet and tank who pursued the Allspark, the cube that creates all Transformer life. He killed Jazz in 2007 by ripping him in half, and he commanded a faction the elite warriors could only serve under rather than replace. Optimus killed him in 2007 in return. Hot Rod's Matrix burned him inside Unicron's body in 1986. Every body he wore could be broken. Optimus Prime led the Autobots across every major version of the franchise, and his origin as Orion Pax, shown in the IDW comics and the 2024 Transformers 1 film, placed him in the same gladiatorial era that produced Megatron. The Matrix of Leadership, a sacred chest-mounted artifact that holds the wisdom of all past primes, transformed him into a prime by granting him the memory of prior leaders and the right to command the Autobot cause through an authority no elite warrior could claim through skill alone. The 1984 cartoon made him a Freightliner semi-truck with an ion blaster and an energon axe as his main weapons, energon being the glowing fuel that keeps all Transformers alive. He killed Megatron in the 2007 film by forcing the Allspark into the Decepticon leader's spark, the glowing core inside every Transformer chest, and he killed the Fallen in Revenge of the Fallen after absorbing the combat knowledge of the ancient bot Jetfire. The 1986 animated film showed what Command could not prevent. Megatron killed him during the defense of Autobot City and forced him to pass the Matrix to the soldier Hot Rod. Grimlock led the Dinobots, the specialized Autobot unit that Wheeljack built to counter Decepticon ground superiority during the early years of the war, and his Tyrannosaurus Rex ult mode gave him raw physical strength beyond almost every other Autobot in straight combat. The 1984 cartoon established that even Optimus Prime chose diplomacy over direct engagement when Grimlock turned defiant, treating the Dinobot leader as nearly equal in raw power, a level no elite warrior in the franchise ever reached against the Autobot leader. The Michael Bay films reimagined him as an even larger metallic Dinobot in Age of Extinction, where he bowed to Optimus only after Prime defeated him in single combat during the Hong Kong campaign. Leading an army demanded strategic intelligence his physical gifts could not replace. Pure power without command sense becomes a weapon someone else has to aim. The Commander tier shaped the war for centuries across the franchise. Without Megatron, no uprising. Without Optimus, no defense. The entire body of Transformers storytelling runs on their decisions. With Grimlock crushing the ground-level superiority gaps their strategies left open, they remained made things, still wired and welded and capable of dying when the math of a fight turned against them. The war demanded a scale beyond what any single body could carry into combat. Devastator forms when 6 Decepticon Constructicons link their bodies into one giant combined robot, a process that requires Scrapper, Bone Crusher, Scavenger, Mixmaster, Hook, and Longhaul to fuse their individual frames into a single combiner that stands dozens of meters tall. A combiner is a transformer built from several smaller bots who merge into one massive form, and the 1984 cartoon placed Devastator as one of the first combiners ever shown when he debuted through the Heavy Metal War story. Revenge of the Fallen rebuilt him as a fusion of construction vehicles who attacked the pyramids of Giza to retrieve the ancient matrix of leadership hidden by the first primes, and his power came from combined mass and overwhelming firepower in a way no individual commander could replicate alone. 6 elite warriors stacked into one body still depended on 6 minds agreeing on the same target. Any disruption to the combiner bond split him apart and sent the Constructicons back to their individual forms. Metroplex served as the Autobot Titan, a city-class bot capable of transforming into an armored warrior larger than any standard Transformer. The War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron video games established him as a key Autobot asset during the final days of the Cybertronian Civil War, and his famous line, "Metroplex heeds the call of the last prime," defined his relationship with Optimus by showing that even Optimus needed help from a body larger than his own to turn certain tides. The 1986 cartoon first introduced him as a mobile fortress capable of transforming into a full powerful battle station, whose firepower could engage entire Decepticon platoons simultaneously, and whose mass let him absorb hits that would end lesser bots in seconds. He moved across terrain at a pace that gave the enemy time to plan around him, which made him a campaign weapon rather than a duel partner. Trypticon worked as the Decepticon counterpart to Metroplex, a Titan-class unit designed for city-scale warfare and mass destruction, whose first appearance in the 1984 cartoon made him a massive dinosaur war machine capable of transforming into a mobile Decepticon base. His firepower matched Metroplex across nearly every measure, and Fall of Cybertron showed a final catastrophic battle between the two Titans during the Decepticon retreat from their home planet that devastated entire sectors of Cybertron. His alternate mode shifts gave him versatility no standard Decepticon could touch. Titan scale meant a target so large the enemy could see him coming from any horizon, which limited the surprise that smaller units could exploit. The Titan tier broke siege lines and held cities and leveled them in battles that decided campaigns commanders could only fight inside. The biggest battles in Cybertron's recorded history bear their footprints. They remained built things, designed and welded into existence by Cybertronian engineering. Anything constructed on a planet remains tied to that planet's metal in ways the next tier had left behind entirely. Unicron stands as the chaos bringer of the Transformers multiverse, introduced in the 1986 animated film The Transformers the Movie, with a voice provided by Orson Welles in what became the actor's final film role before his death that same year. His alternate mode was a planet-sized sphere capable of consuming entire worlds to sustain his cosmic body, a scale no Titan in the franchise could ever approach because their construction tied them to materials that operated below the level he existed on. The 1986 film depicted him devouring the moons of Cybertron before transforming into his massive robot form to attack the planet itself, and Autobots and Decepticons who entered his body functioned as microorganisms against a cosmic entity. He fell from within. Hot Rod, just crowned as the new leader Rodimus Prime, opened the matrix of leadership and unleashed its accumulated light directly into Unicron's core during the climax. The IDW comics expanded his origin by establishing him as one half of a primordial entity that split into creation and destruction at the dawn of reality. A god who must keep consuming can never be full. Primus serves as the creator god of the Transformer race, the cosmic counterpart to Unicron, and the being from whom all Cybertronians descend across every continuity. The 1984 cartoon established him as the planet Cybertron itself, a god whose physical form became the Transformer homeworld after the ancient battles against Unicron concluded, and the IDW comics depicted him as an active consciousness capable of awakening to defend his children when existential threats emerged. His power exceeded any individual Transformer, with a margin that made even the Titan tier look small. The price of that power was total immobility. Primus could not move freely across the universe without abandoning his physical form and the world his children stood on, which meant his greatest expressions of force required him to channel power through his creations, working through the matrix of leadership and the 13 Primes, the ancient first Transformers he created to fight Unicron in the original war. The Fallen ranked among the 13 Primes, the original Cybertronians Primus made to guard creation against Unicron's endless appetite, and the IDW comics together with the 2009 Bay film Revenge of the Fallen told the story of his betrayal of his brother Primes and his alliance with Unicron and his eventual exile for attempting to destroy Earth's sun. He wielded solar energy and bent matter on a cosmic scale and survived combat that would have killed any lesser warrior instantly. The 2009 film depicted his attempt to activate an ancient sun harvester hidden beneath the Egyptian pyramids, a machine that would destroy Earth's sun to generate energon for Decepticon forces and reshape the balance of the entire war. Optimus Prime killed him in single combat after absorbing the combat knowledge of the ancient bot Jetfire. A god who falls to a Prime is a god whose name still hangs over the franchise as proof that even the original creations of Primus can choose ruin and lose to those who chose duty. The One exists as the ultimate cosmic entity in certain Transformers continuities, most prominently in the Dreamwave and IDW comic books, representing the primordial consciousness from which Primus and Unicron originally emerged at the dawn of reality itself. His existence predates Cybertron by a margin that makes the entire history of the Transformer race look brief in comparison, and his power encompasses both aspects of his divided offspring, containing the full spectrum of cosmic force the two lesser gods embody separately. He rarely manifests directly within the franchise, existing as a concept and occasional presence rather than an active participant in Cybertronian affairs. His power is so total that any direct action would erase the war itself by sheer presence. He cannot enter his own story without ending it. The God tier shaped the universe every other tier lives inside. Unicron consumed and was gutted by the Matrix. Primus created and was chained to his own planet. The Fallen betrayed and was cut down by his own kin. The One existed and was locked out of his own creation. Power that great cannot solve the small problems below it, and that is the wall the entire ladder finally breaks against. Power scales from the smallest scout to the cosmic creator, and each rung gives what the one below could never give while missing something the next rung will provide. Wheelie watched what no warrior could reach, and Ratchet healed what no scout could fix. Bumblebee carried those repairs into fights no medic would survive. Starscream owned airspace soldiers could never contest, and Optimus commanded campaigns no elite could design alone. Metroplex broke the siege lines no commander's body could crack. Unicron ate what no Titan could touch. Every tier hit a wall the next tier was built to climb. The matrix of leadership links these tiers across every version by carrying the wisdom of the 13 primes down through Optimus and the Autobot cores, and the full story of those primes reveals how the bond between Primus and his children built the entire mythology that frames every level of the climb you have just walked through.